What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you the new step sequencer on the SP404-MK2 software version 2.0. If you're still not up to date on this, check out my video, I'll link to it in the top right hand corner. That shows you how to update your machine. You definitely need to get onto this update because it's packed full of amazing new features. So this is probably one of the videos you've been most looking forward to. This is a huge new feature, and what I will say is there is a lot of stuff to cover on this one, so I'll do my absolute best to cover everything that I know about this. So getting into step sequencer is the first step, and it's really easy to do. You just hit pattern select and you just go into recording a pattern as you usually would. You press record, you select the pattern, so I'm going to do 4 here, and you can see here mine's actually already in TR record mode, so it's actually ready to go into step sequencer. If you want to change which mode you're recording in, if you want to go back to the normal live recording mode, you just hit remain. As you can see there, that takes you to real time. So yeah, you just use remain to toggle between the two of those. So I'm going to go into TR record mode, and I'm going to set this to 1 bar. And the reason is it's just a lot easier to show you guys everything that's on the screen when it's just in 1 bar, because it will be 16 pads. All you need to know is if you go past more than 1 bar in length, you use the value wheel to cycle between the different blocks of bars, if that makes sense. So the first bar will be there, then you scroll across, it'll show the second bar, third bar, etc, etc, etc. So that's how you cycle through the bars, and then you just input everything in exactly the same way. So yeah, for this example, 1 bar, just because it's a lot easier to show you guys what's going on. So then you go ahead and press record, and you are now presented with a new screen. We've got substep, pitch, chromatic, and velocity at the top. I'll go into those in more detail in a minute. The first thing I'll show you is how to input the sound that you want to use. So that's really easy to do. You use sub pad and you select whichever pad in the bank that you want to put into the sequencer. So I'm going to start with the hi-hats, and I'm going to turn the volume up actually because you guys need to hear what's going on. So there you go, you can hear I've selected my hi-hat, and now I can literally just press these in. And you can see there that the LED is cycling through and showing you exactly where you are in the sequence, and you can see that the red LEDs here are showing where I've inputted the hi-hats. So say I want to change the sound and input those instead. Let's go ahead and do some snares. And let's do some kicks as well. Okay, and just to note straight away that once you've input those into the grid, no matter what sort of parameters you've chosen when you've done that, you cannot update the parameters once it's in the grid. Now that is a little bit frustrating, but there's not actually any real way to select that pad without removing it from the grid. So if I wanted to select pad 1, for example, it's going to take it out of the grid. Subpad is obviously reserved for choosing a sound, so there's no real way of pressing a button without taking it out of the grid. So if you did want to update a sound, you would have to take it out, change the parameters, so say I wanted the velocity to be really low, and then put it in again. So it's pretty fast to do anyway. All you have to do is take it off, change the parameter, put it back in. So that's fairly straightforward, but I'm guessing you guys would have one on-the-fly editing for each individual step. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You do have to set your parameters first, and once it's in the grid, that is confirmed. So just thought I'd make a note of that. Now, another handy feature that you can use is hold. And what hold will do is it'll only play the sound that you've selected. So let me give you an example. Let's say we just want to listen to the hi-hats that we've inputted into this sequence. So I'll turn this back up. I'm going to select the hi-hat using subpad again, and then I'm going to press hold. And now we can only hear the hi-hats. Say if I want to change that to snare. And then to come out of that mode, you literally just press hold again. So if you want to delete pads from the sequence, you obviously can do that just by pressing them like this. If I turn the volume up again now, you can hear that there's no kicks anymore. So let me just put those back in so I can show you another feature. If you press delete and hold it, you can see you get more delete options. So it's saying here, use the pads to clear a single step. That's what I've just described. A and F clears J13 from steps. So if I press A and F now here, that will clear the steps of pad J13, which I think is the kick. Yeah, it is. It's down here, isn't it? That's the kick. So if I went ahead and did that, that would remove all the kicks. Like so. And if I just put those in again, where they were, and press delete, the last option, press B and G, and that clears all the steps. So if I go ahead and do that, and then turn the volume up again, you can hear that everything has been cleared there. So that's another useful feature. If you just wanted to scrap something straight away but carry on working, you can just delete every step really easily like that. Okay, one of the secret sources of this is when you hold shift. So if you hold shift, you can see you get this thing called start. You get shuffle as well, which, to be honest, this is one of the things I cannot get that to work or do anything at all. You get the option to go from -50 to 50. That's supposed to put shuffle on your steps, but I've tried that and I honestly cannot notice any difference with that with my drums, so I'm not sure what's happening with that. I won't talk about that in this video. Start, though, does work, and it's really, really amazing. This allows you to edit the start point of the step that you're putting in. So let me go ahead and put in some hi-hats here. And I'll save the volume until I've put in these other steps, because what I'm going to do now is change the start point to be late. So I want it to be, say, let's go for plus 50%, and I'm going to put those on these pads. So I've selected those parameters, now they're in the grid, and if I turn that up, you can hear that there's a really nice shuffle to the beat that I've created there, to the rhythm of the hi-hats, because I've delayed the start points of this line of pads here. Now, I won't go into an amazing amount of detail about that, but you can imagine it means that you can do early snares, early kicks, late kicks, whatever you want. You can mess around with that parameter and get your drums falling all over the place on the grid, so you're not necessarily just restricted to the grid. That's a really amazing feature, and what it's going to allow you to do is create really humanized feeling drums even though you're on a step sequencer. So I really like that feature. You'll definitely have a lot of fun playing around with that when you get that, because you can get your drums sitting all over the place and really make them sound nice and humanized. Okay, and while we're on the screen, I may as well tell you about these settings here. So Substep, basically that allows you to change how many sounds trigger on one particular step, and you can actually choose different patterns. So here you can see this has just got one, it's like one solid trigger. So if it was a hi-hat, it would just be a single hi-hat note. You can change between these. There's a lot of different options, and basically what these do is trigger things in that particular way. So it looks like a maximum it can do is divide one step into 4 sub-steps, essentially, so like quarter notes, and then you can choose different patterns in this area, and what that'll do is put the sound on the step in that particular pattern. So let's go ahead and try this one. Let's go for just 4 like this. Okay, so you can see how that works, and I'll just show you a couple of the other ones maybe. So you can probably hear there, you can get all sorts of interesting effects with that. That's doing a delay at the start. That's actually divided it into 3 by the looks of it. So it takes the first third off and then plays 2 notes very quickly. There's loads of different patterns that you can play around with there, and that'll definitely be useful for doing more up-tempo stuff, or certainly for doing things like trap hi-hats where you need those repetitions, those rolls. I think that'll be really useful for that. So I'm going to leave that set back to 1 solid note. Now, pitch chromatic, there's a lot you can do with this, and basically what this is useful for is more for samples. I mean, you could use this on drums definitely as well if you wanted to repitch your drums in a certain loop. So this is chromatic by default, and it allows you to go to -12 and +12. So I assume what that is doing is giving you the option of 2 octaves, because there's 12 notes in a chromatic scale, and you can go all the way to -12 and all the way to +12. So that's quite a nice feature. If you're using the pitch to input things, you've got the full scale there. And if you want to change this, what you can do is press the value dial, and then you can go to major A, minor, Dorian, all these different scales, and chromatic as well, back round to chromatic. If you want to change the key of what you're working in here, you have to press down the value and then twist it. And you can see here it lets you change between whatever note that you want to use as well. So you can put things in key, and you can choose what key you're in, and you can change between the 2 octaves, either plus or minus that octave basically. So that's another useful feature. Velocity is really self-explanatory and it's really good for hi-hats because, for example, I can get a very humanized feel in by doing something like this. I've put it to full volume and I'm going to put hi-hats in along here. And then I'm going to lower the velocity and put another row in here. And hopefully you can hear that it's getting that really kind of humanized feel. It's adding a lot more feel to the rhythm of the hi-hats and actually sounds quite nice. So yeah, you've got the option there to add velocity to every single thing that you input. That goes from 1 all the way up to pad. I'm not exactly sure what pad does there, but you can go all the way up to 127 basically, so full volume. I don't know what pad means, whether that means just do the velocity of what the pad is already set to. Not really sure, but yeah, I just either go from 127 all the way down to 1 or whatever, so you get a full range there of velocity when you're inputting things into the sequencer. Okay, one more thing that I want to talk about is hold. Now, if you hit remain while you're in the sequencer, you get this thing called hold step. And what this allows you to do is select how long the pad that you're inputting lasts for. So say, for example, you just wanted it to last for 1 step in the sequence. In the 16 sequences here, you press 1. If you wanted it to last for 2, you choose 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 16. And this is one more option, which I'm not sure. I don't know what last means here. I don't know what that does. But obviously there you've got the full range from 1 to 16, which will mean however long you want it to hold for. If you want it to hold from 1 to 7, 1 to 12, you just choose the number that you want it to hold until, and then it will stop playing at that particular point. You can do that on an individual pad basis as well, so if you wanted some to hold and others to not, you can do that when you're inputting these notes into the sequencer. So that's another really handy one. Personally, I think this is getting very fiddly and technical at this point. I don't think I'd use that feature too much, but at least it's there and it's pretty interesting. And if you want to come out of that, you just hit remain again and you're back to the normal menu of substep, velocity and the pitch. Now, one final thing that I want to note is that you can change between the 2 recording modes in pattern mode. So you've got the live sequencer, you've got the step sequencer, and it won't disrupt the workflow at all. Now, this is really handy because what I found is the step sequencer is really good for drums, but then for doing chops, it's quite nice to jump back into the real-time editor. And you can do that. You can use both of them to create one pattern, which is really nice as well. So I'm in step sequencer here and I'll play this while I'm doing it. But basically what you do is you exit out of it. And then if you want to go back in and use real-time record, you just press record. If you want to go back in and use the step sequencer again, you press shift and record. So I'll turn the volume up and show you. I'm going to press exit and the pattern still plays. So if I want to go back into the step sequencer, I hold shift and record. And you can see I'm back in there. There's the menu. Press exit again. And if I want to go into the normal real-time pattern sequencer, I just press record. And you can see there I'm into the normal screen for the real-time editor. So that's super handy. You can switch between the two seamlessly, so there's no disruption to your workflow, which is really important, I think. And yeah, that's another really nice feature of it. So thanks very much for watching, guys. That's pretty much everything I know about the step sequencer at this point. There's a few little things there which I don't really know what they do yet, so apologies for that, but hopefully either you guys can work them out or they'll get included in the manual very soon so we all know exactly what those features do. I think this is a really good update. I've been using it a lot for inputting drums. I think it's really fun for doing that, and also it's very, very fast as well. So I really like that about it. If you've been giving Sequencer a go, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you're finding it. And yeah, any other updates in 2.0 that you're enjoying, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear which are your favorite updates. There's been a few which I really, really like, and this is definitely one of them. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and getting this far. If you want to support what I do, as usual, check out SPVIDZ.com for my beat packs, and I've got a Teespring store as well. All the links are in the description below for how you can support what I'm doing here. It really does help. But apart from that, just keep making beats, and I'll be back with more videos very, very soon, guys. Peace!